Welcome to Guitar Science. So I'm back, and today I have a rather unique project, and I'm going to walk you through all the steps from start to finish. We're going to make an entirely custom theme guitar. Now, look, what I do is I make guitars, right? I put parts casters together, but this is a different animal. This is a theme guitar, and you'll see there's a specific idea here. This is where we're going to start with the Squier Contemporary HH. It's kind of a stock 250 to 350 Squier guitar. It's pretty good in its own right, but we're going to take it and we're going to turn it into something completely ridiculous. And so that's the plan for today. Just a quick look at the finished product here. Maybe you can guess what the theme is. So yeah, it's kind of a murder, homicide, forensic science themed guitar. Now, why would I do that? Aside from being really cool, I am not a musician or a luthier by trade, as you probably figured out. I am in fact a high school teacher, and I teach forensic science. And I also do guitar on the side at the school, and I thought it'd be cool to make those two things meet. So the first step here was to degloss the body. Going for old bone, shouldn't really be shiny. So the next step was to modify the finish on the body. Now, obviously off-white gloss isn't really going to do it for this theme, so the first thing we did is we took the gloss off. But now, I kind of decided that the easiest way to go would be to make it look like cracked bone. So I have this razor blade, and basically I'm just going to score it and try to make bone cracks. Again, finish work is not my strong suit. Maybe you've seen my clumsy second attempt at finishing a guitar. More to come in the future. So, this is just what I decided to do. This was a little nerve-wracking because it's kind of, you get what you get. There's no going back. And I had to be really careful to not just take a chunk out of this thing, because that would obviously not have looked good. The other problem with this is that, unlike real bone, we're really only going to get straight lines here. There's pretty much no way to cut a curve in with a razor blade like this, at least not that I could do. So, this is kind of painstaking, and I spent a lot of time on this, but I think, just by being careful and methodical and kind of, looking as I went, I think it came out okay, and it does sort of resemble cracks. Okay, so the next step was to kind of color in these cracks with some black shoe polish, because obviously it doesn't look good if they're bare wood. But before, I also kind of wanted to do the body in black shoe polish, so that's why I've got the shirt there. So that was what I tried first. Again, if you don't know what it's going to look like, try it on the back first, right? Just in case. So as you can see, it does kind of discolor the body a little bit. So I did go ahead and I spread that over the entire body. And then I took this brush and I just decided, to brush in little cracks with black so they kind of look more realistic and, they pop a little bit more. And after that, I just came in with the Sharpie just to make it a little bit darker as well. So here it is post Sharpie treatment. And you can see they pop quite a bit more than they did before. So the next step was to screw up the body, right? Make it less white, like old bone. So the first thing I tried was the old coffee ground trick, right? When you were in 5th grade and you had to pretend you were writing the Declaration of Independence or whatever, you got coffee on your paper and it made it look aged. So I was like, okay, let's try that. But as you can see here, no, right? Minimal effect. And I was a little worried that it was going to make the guitar smell like coffee, so I kind of just stopped after a little bit. Okay, next up, dirt. Dirt makes things dirty, right? That's gotta work. Well, as you can see, it does a little bit, but it's not a big effect. It's remarkable how durable these finishes are and how hard they are to mess up. So the dirt, it did a little bit, but here's really where we get going, is with the brown shoe polish. So I started around the outside, kind of give it a little gradient, sort of sunbursty kind of thing. And then I spread it around with the old t-shirt. And again, what I learned in this first pass was that you kind of have to be quick with this stuff because it sort of sets kind of rapidly into the finish. And it's kind of hard to move it around after that. But, instantly you can kind of see it already looks a little bit older and dirtier. So the brown shoe polish really helped. I did have to scrape a little bit of it off afterwards and kind of touch up some of the areas to make sure that it was, kind of a little bit more even than it was before. And then I went through and I, of course, did the sides and the back. Again, carefully and trying not to apply too much, right, because it's easier to put on more than it is to take it off. And finally, I found a finer brush, and I went through and I painted over the cracks just a little bit more with more black shoe polish. So here's the finished body. I did ask a few people once the guitar was done, and I did get kind of the same answers. They said, oh, it looks like bone. So if people can figure that out, I guess that means it works. Okay, so next up are all the little pieces and stuff. We'll start with the knobs. And these knobs I found on Reverb, they are actual shotgun shells, 12-gauge shotgun shells. You can see, close-up detail. You can see the manufacturer, their Winchesters. You can see the firing pin marks. They've been fired. So that's pretty cool, and I'm excited to try these out. And next we have the main inspiration for the build, which was the Blood Spatter pickguard. So this is pretty cool. I got it from Greasy Groove, which makes a lot of these. And this is not the first Blood Spatter pickguard I received. I actually got this one first, but it looks like melted crayon, so yeah, we didn't go with that one. We went with this one, much better. Okay, so here's how it looks on the body, and I also got the same thing for the neck plate, because I thought it was cool, and it was like, I don't know, $6 or $7, so to me that's, that's worth it just to add a little bit more theming to the guitar. Here's the bridge I decided to use. As you can see, it drops in perfectly. I didn't end up swapping out the posts because the new post didn't fit so well, but I like the black look. It's a nice bridge. It's pretty well made. It's Wilkinson. You can tell it's well machined when you look at it. And the bridge that was in here, the stock one, actually had this weird habit of snapping the high E string at right next to the bridge post. So I don't really know what was going on with that, but it was just another reason to swap it out. So here's actually a different Wilkinson bridge, and in what will become a common theme for this build, this one did not fit. I took a lot of measurements, but I missed one measurement, I guess, and it just didn't fit. So for the pickups, I have a few pickups that I wound myself as part of my pickup winding experiments, which are ongoing. You can see my first attempts in that video up in the corner. These ones have a few more windings on it than the initial ones that I wound, just to try a bit of a different sound. And I also have the chopper, which is going to go in the bridge position. This is a blade pickup by DiMarzio. It's basically a humbucker, but it's a little different construction because it's got those blades, and they have a unique sound to them, and that'll just give it a little bit more oomph. Just testing the output of the pickups here. So this white one is 5.65, which, even by single coil standards is pretty low. The next one here is coming in at around 6.2, which is a bit higher. I am not as obsessed with pickup output as a lot of people are. I do think it's an important factor, but I don't think it's the only thing that colors the sound. But with that said, I do prefer higher output pickups, so I'm definitely going to be using that 6.2. And one of these two, which are both around 5.6, one of these two is going to go, and the chopper is going to go in its place. And as you can see, the chopper is going to come in around 9.14, which is definitely a lot higher, but that's okay. The conventional wisdom is you want the higher output pickup in the bridge position, and considering I've seen some humbuckers as high as 13, 9 is perfectly fine, so that shouldn't be much of an issue. I got these black pickup covers because I think, I wanted to go with black hardware whenever possible. They were very cheap on Alibaba. You can't really see it in the shot here, but they don't exactly fit over the pickups. The screw holes don't line up, so, these also were added to the parts graveyard on this build, but that's okay. Thankfully, I also had these more standard-looking black pickup covers, and these ones, they pretty much did the job, so that's what I ended up using here. Alright, so if you've seen my channel before, one of the things I like to do is I like to mess around with the wiring a little bit. Despite being absolutely terrible at wiring things, I like to experiment a little and do things a little non-standard. This is guitar science after all, and that's what scientists do, we experiment. With that in mind, there's a few changes that we're going to do here. So this is kind of an HSS design, and in your typical HSS, position 5 is just your humbucker, your bridge humbucker. And position 4, I think, is one coil of your humbucker plus your middle pickup. And I'm going to do that a little bit differently, and I'm just going to do the full humbucker plus the middle position pickup. And, that could be good, it could be bad, we'll see. I've never really heard that being done before, but we're going to try it. The other change that I'm going to make is I'm going to go with mid-tone and bridge tone. So obviously there's 3 pickups and 2 tone knobs. So, something's always going to get the shaft here. It's going to be the neck pickup. I tend to not roll back the high end on the neck pickup ever, so I don't really think I need a tone knob for the neck pickup. But on the mid and the bridge pickup, sometimes, it gets a little harsh and you want to roll off some of that high end. So I do like having that tone option for mid and bridge pickup. Here's the wiring in progress. I probably exceeded my EPA yearly lead limits here, but I did get it done eventually. The helping hands really were, a help. Highly recommend that tool. You can see it holds the wires in place, get the magnifying glass. They're cheap. It was like $11 or less. So highly recommend that if you don't have those. A couple details. I went with 250K alpha pots. I like to use them. They're good. And these are the standard capacitors that you would use with 250K pots. I forget the number of microfarads. They are really hefty, though, and I believe that's because I think they're actually paper and wax capacitors, which, is cool and kind of old school. Okay, so there is one more part for the unused parts pile, and that's this lovely Bloodwood neck that I got from Warmouth. Bloodwood for the Murdercaster. Perfect, right? Not so much. It did not fit in the neck pocket. I had a lot of trouble getting that in there. It really just did not want to fit. I thought about shimming and all the stuff like that, but it just really was kind of problematic. And then I put it in another body that I have, and it fit perfectly first time. So I took that as a sign to just stick with the Squier neck that was on here and save this for another guitar. The Squier neck is flat 12-inch radius. It's got a kind of modern, comfortable C-shaped back, and the nut is well cut, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And there is one other great detail about this neck, and that's that I can use these lovely blood spatter decals that would not show up on the Bloodwood. And yes, it is blood spatter, not blood splatter. My inner forensics teacher coming out, I gotta point that out. The goal here is to put them over the fret markers and to cover up the Squier logo, because of course, this is not a Squier, this is a Guitar Science custom. Some kind of repositioning of these stickers. I did not apply these correctly. I'm just going to point that out. I read the directions and then I proceeded to completely ignore them. So they probably would have gone on a little bit better. Follow the directions on your stickers, guys. It kind of helps. And I don't know how well you can see this, but this was annoying. The bridge didn't fit perfectly with the pickguard, so I had to kind of smush and sand even a little corner off of the pickguard just to get it to fit. That was kind of irritating and required a lot of 4-letter words. Here's the finished guitar. This thing took me forever, and there were a number of setbacks, so it's very satisfying to finally be done with this. A few things to point out. You can see the pickup selector. I've got this little switch frame thing around it, and it's kind of a skull, macabre kind of pattern. You can see the black output jack and the black screws and strap buttons as well to kind of complement the bridge and pickups. And you can see, of course, the police line do not cross strap, which, every edgy 14-year-old loves at Guitar Center. So finally had a reason to grab that. And yeah, there it is. So all that's left now is to give you a little demo of what it sounds like. And I think I wrote an appropriately Murdercastery kind of jam to do that. So thanks so much for watching.